Couple of busy weekends in a row with games on Saturday, Monday, and it's sometimes difficult. Jeff asked a question last week, how do you prepare for that? Does one team get short-sighted and the other? What you try and do, without pointing it out too much to the players, is to, at the end of the last two segments of, say, an 8-segment practices, go over what the other team would do. I think the players figure it out, but you have to do it that way, because sometimes that day between games, you got to be very careful, not only with your legs, but that you don't get anyone hurt in that situation. So we're prepared for both of these games going into it, and teams like Boston College and Wake Forest, the one thing they bring to the table is unbelievable three-point shooting, and we got to be very careful that we take care of business from in defending the three-point line. They're also good at putting it on the floor to create easy shots that lead to three-point shots if they don't get the easy shot.
The fact that you dropped your first two games and you lost your home, are you at all surprised how much you progressed from where you are at this point?
The only thing that surprises me is the way we've played without the two-point guards missing. You know, that's kind of surprising. But that being said, it's just a, I think there are 3 or 4 reasons for that. Which one it is, I'm not sure. It's an educated guess. One is the ball's in the hand of your best player, more Donovan Mitchell, and he creates more with the ball in his hands. The second thing is the players know that 2 valuable assets are missing, so they've got to pick up their play in lieu of a guy like Mango Mathiang and David Levitch. And then 3, they realize this is, the dog days of January, February, and you really got to pick up your play to obviously put yourself in a good situation come tournament time. Which one it is, I'm not sure. Maybe it's a collection of all of them.
Boston College have been close in a lot of games. What is it that they've been doing right to stay in the games?
They got great scoring from the perimeter. They have terrific motion on their offense. They're difficult to defend. It's they can be difficult for everyone. I mean, they played North Carolina tough. They've been in almost every game, and they'll be tough for us.
What's going into Mango's improvement over the last?
I think that it's just like any injury. When you break your foot twice, the number one thing is you're very cautious, and you're always thinking because of the injury to the same foot. So you don't really play with reckless abandonment. Then your timing's off, your footwork's off, everything's off, and it just takes a long time to get back with injuries like that happening twice. It's like having an ACL twice to the same knee. You're afraid maybe if I turn the wrong way, if I jump too high, if I land on it wrong, you're always thinking that way. So it's just a process of taking time to feel comfortable, and he's certainly playing good basketball right now.
What was your memory when he had the setback, I guess, in May or something? Just kind of your reaction when you maybe knew he was in that?
Sometimes you don't know if they ever come back on a second injury like that, come back to the level they were at. But he in the last 2 weeks, he certainly has come back to that level.
Where does Q stand at this point?
He has not practiced, so it's a day-to-day thing when he practiced. We're going to get through these games, and he had another. I think he had another MRI. He had some test where he's not healed yet. But he is shooting, is moving. But if I had to guess, the Miami game is a possibility, not a probability.
You put together a string of good road games. Is this team kind of coming around in terms of playing on the road and maybe, I don't know if they're like that, but
Yeah, I think this team, our goal is just to get better, and I think they're improving. I think the one major weakness I thought we've had all along lies in 2 areas. One's in our defense and one's in our passing. And I think we're passing the ball much better now. I think Jalen has improved his passing. VJ and Dang are very willing passers, but they don't see the floor like Donovan and Levitch, David. They don't see it. if I tell them, come off a pick and roll, there'll be a guy in the left corner, they'll pass it to the left corner, there'll be a willing passer, but they don't, as the plays are happening, they don't see the defense and how they react, where Donovan and David do. So Jalen's getting better at that, and we're trying to make progress with VJ and Dang in that area.
When you look at this team, there's a ton of teams out there you think can make that run to the end, and maybe the team that does, be a team that improves from this point on. How much is still there for this team? Individual team.
Well, I just, as I look at the roster, Jalen's nowhere near his potential, but he's playing good, sound basketball. Ray and Anas are up and down in their play, and that's primarily due to foul trouble. They get in foul trouble, they lose their aggressiveness, they sit too long. I would put Jalen in that case as well. Donovan's playing terrific basketball. David's added another dimension to our team from a passing standpoint. Certainly Ryan McMahon and VJ King have a lot of improvement left in their game. But, you know, it really, the NCAA, the one thing I found out through a number of years, it really comes down to matchups. You know, you could get a first-round opponent like an Old Dominion, and you're playing great basketball, and suddenly they slow it down to a crawl, and it looks like you're not playing great. Then the second round, you play a different team, and you get on an unbelievable roll. And so it really had nothing to do with that. It really has to do with matchups and styles of play.
I know it's strictly guesswork and speculation, but do you see this thing coming down, the ACC coming down to the last weekend?
Well, I haven't looked at all the schedules. Carolina, in the beginning of the year, Carolina and us had the two most difficult schedules.
You and Carolina?
Yeah. As I looked at it early in the year, I don't know who has what left. You know, in Virginia right now is, if you look at the statistical data, Virginia and North Carolina are very high in all the areas. You know, it was an interesting, as you study Virginia and you get ready to play, it's really fascinating when you watch how they lose. Like, they really outplayed Villanova for most of the game, and Villanova couldn't hit any shots. They only hit 1 3, I think, in the first half. And then they hit some threes in the second half. You have to make shots. They take away all the sets that you run. They just take it away. But the interesting thing in the three losses, now Pitt's the exception because Pitt shot 50-something% from the field and 62% from the three. They shot 13 for 21. But in all three losses to Villanova, Virginia shot 3 for 3 from the line. Against Florida State, from the line they were 3 for 5. And against Pittsburgh, with an overtime game, they were 2 for 5. So in all three losses, the other team has shot many more free throws and didn't foul Virginia. Because Virginia's one of the, forgetting about they're one of the better defensive teams in the nation, what really makes them special is the way they execute on offense, because their offense is terrific.
What does that tell you? I mean, obviously.
It tells you not to foul. Yeah.
But I meant that Virginia couldn't get to the line against them. Are you
Well,
saying-
I think they said that they know they're going to give up certain things, and if we're going to give up something, let's give up the jump shot. Let's not give up anything inside. But, you know, I've always felt with Virginia now, after studying them, you know, you've got to be as good as them defensively. In our game, they shot 49%, we shot 43%. So you're not going to win that game unless you're – Villanova was as good defensively, Florida State was as good defensively, and Pitt just shot lights out. And those are certain formulas to beat a team like that. So I think Virginia, the reason I bring it up, I think Virginia has a little bit of an edge because they're executing at both ends of the floor extremely well statistically. But outside of that, it's pretty close.
Are you defensively getting anywhere closer to where you'd like to be? I know the numbers, the rankings are really good, from what you see here.
We're getting better as a team. We're not a very good individually. We're not good defensively from an individual standpoint. We're good collectively. We have a lot of guys that can erase our mistakes, and that's what makes us a better defensive team than I would like to see. But we are getting better at that.
mentioned your defense against Virginia in the first game. Has that been a common thread with them in your games with them? That, you know, you call them your
Well, I think we've played them wrong. In certain sets, we're trying to run our sets and trying to figure out, okay, they're gonna take away A, B, let's go to C, D option. And really, when you play Virginia, it's a matter of creating ball movement, creating player movement, and making shots. It's not about an offense you're going to run. It's gonna come down to individual players breaking them down and making shots and make off the pass. It's not about an offensive set. Certain teams you run offensive sets because it's going to be important. Against a Syracuse, you got to run certain things to beat their zone. I would venture to say at 90% of the Villanova game, Villanova didn't run one play against them. But they have Brunson. They got guys that can flat out beat you off the bounce. And you have to, that's the only way to do it. And when I say beat you off the bounce, you draw them, like, you suck the other defenders in, you make the pass, and in the first half, Villanova missed all the shots. In the second half, they made them. And by the way, 4 of them were challenge threes that they made. So you're gonna have to shoot great to beat Virginia. If you shoot great, you got a chance to win.
How often do you come away from a game and think you played them wrong?
Well, I think after studying the other teams as well, you come to a conclusion that after looking at all the other teams, you look at all the games they play, and you see why the other teams had difficulty in scoring, you realize that it's not only you, but it's 10 other teams trying the same thing, and it's not working against them. Now, do you have the players that can beat them off the bounce and create? That's the second thing. You know, there are certain teams we've had that can do that. Peyton Siva, Luke Hancock, Russ Smith. Now, do you have the players to do that? That remains to be seen. Terry Rozier.
Not them specifically, but just, is this something that occurs to you once a year, twice a year?
There's
Something different.
oh yeah, no question about it. There's always, and sometimes you got to adjust during the game. You know, a thing that comes to mind was we had 7 players we were playing in 2005, and we couldn't play man-to-man. If we got in foul trouble, we had no bench at all, and our 7th player, Otis George, had a stress fracture in his foot, so he wasn't practicing. So we were strictly 2-3 zone, not a matchup zone, but a bumping zone. And West Virginia made 11 threes at the half. And we walked up, and we didn't practice it, we didn't walk through it, we just cleared out all the chairs in the locker room, the boards, and we put tape down, and we went through their man-to-man offense. And we started saying, this is how we're going to guard. And we used the analogy of Georgetown backdoor play, because that's the way they run. So we got to play them just like Georgetown. Here's what we're doing. And we spent we went out with a couple of minutes on the clock, and we had to change at that point. Now, that's the extreme, but I'd say that 90% of the time, you walk away and you change during timeout, you change at halftime because you just feel it's not working. And the good thing about our basketball team is we have 3 or 4 different defenses we can go through. I think that's one of the reasons why Georgia Tech is having so much success right now. They play a 1-3-1, they play a 2-3, they play man, they're changing up their defenses, and they're having great success. And it's a tribute to Josh doing a terrific job with that. Because sometimes you go in thinking, this is the way to play them. See, we know the statistical information on zone man. We take every team knows this, not just us. So we know right now what BC is, all their possessions against man-to-man, all their possessions against zone. And we take it a step further because we fouls and makes in our eyes. So sometimes you say, okay, this team's shooting 41% against zone, so we're going to play zone. And then you find out that it's the wrong defense to play, and you've got to make rapid changes. Not often, but it happens.
Is that, just intellectually, does that appeal to you, having to adjust on the fly?
Yeah, because we have the adjustments that we can make because we're a multiple changing defensive team, so we can go to that. So we have an idea now how we want to play Boston College, but we're also practicing the other 2 defenses if the one that we feel is the right one to play doesn't work. In the championship team, we changed by, on missed shots, we played one defense. On inside plays, we played a different defense. On 3-point shots, we played a different defense. And on dead ball, we played a different defense. That was a seasoned, veteran, highly intelligent basketball team.
How has your memory or view of your time in Boston
It hasn't. You know, I was a head coach of BU, but I remember mostly it's personal friends and family because I coached at BU. We'll walk through at BU, but it's 17 years, 16 years since I've been with the Celtics, or 17, and it's 30-plus years I've been with Boston. So, you know, it's just family and friends. I have a lot of friends going to be at the game.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Great, thank you.